Have you ever felt the sting of silence when she ignores your calls or texts, leaving you to question your worth or wonder what went wrong? What if you could transform that painful silence into an opportunity for personal growth and emotional resilience? Stoic philosophy offers practical guidance on mastering your inner state, even when external validation is absent. In this exploration, we'll uncover 10 essential Stoic lessons on staying calm when she ignores you. Each lesson, built on timeless wisdom and concrete examples, will show you how to reclaim your inner peace and use these moments of neglect as stepping stones towards self-improvement. If these insights resonate with you, please like, share, and subscribe so we can continue this journey of self-mastery together. Lesson 1. Accept the silence as an opportunity for self-reflection. When she ignores you, your immediate impulse might be to spiral into self-doubt or frantic attempts to win back attention. Stoicism, however, teaches us that silence is not a personal indictment. It is simply an event in life, neutral until we assign it meaning. Imagine your phone goes dark after you send a heartfelt message. Instead of assuming rejection, a Stoic would pause and observe. What is within my control here? You cannot control her response, but you can control how you react. This realization is the first step toward emotional liberation. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Embracing this idea, you can view her silence as a moment to engage in self-reflection rather than a trigger for emotional turbulence. Use this quiet period to ask yourself critical questions. Are you basing your self-worth on her validation? What internal needs are you trying to satisfy through her attention? This inquiry isn't meant to dwell on the pain, but to uncover the roots of your attachment. Often, we cling to the idea that someone else's attention validates our identity. By examining this belief, you begin to disentangle your self-esteem from external approval. Consider a real-life scenario. You text her about something meaningful, and she doesn't reply. The sting of her silence could make you feel insignificant. Instead, pause and reflect on your emotional habits. Perhaps you've allowed past experiences or societal pressures to convince you that your worth depends on constant interaction. A Stoic approach would be to remind yourself that you are whole and complete on your own. In doing so, you free your mind from the relentless chase of validation and focus on cultivating inner strength. This reflective pause is not about ignoring your feelings. It's about processing them with clarity. You might even journal about the moment, recording the initial shock, your subsequent thoughts, and the eventual realization that her silence does not diminish your inherent value. Over time, this practice transforms a potentially painful experience into a catalyst for self-growth. Each instance of silence becomes a reminder that your emotional equilibrium rests in your own hands, not in someone else's response. By accepting silence as an opportunity for self-reflection, you reclaim the power to shape your inner life. You begin to see that her lack of response is merely an external event, one that does not dictate your self-worth. With each reflective moment, you cultivate the Stoic habit of focusing on what you can control, your own mind, your own actions, and letting go of the rest. Lesson 2. Focus on what you can control and let go of the rest. One of the most fundamental tenets of Stoicism is the dichotomy of control, understanding that there's a clear boundary between what lies within your power and what does not. When she ignores you, it's natural to try to change her behavior or force a response, but that's a battle you're not meant to fight. Instead, channel your energy into managing your own thoughts, actions, and emotional reactions. Imagine you're anxiously awaiting her reply, and every minute feels like an eternity. In that moment, ask yourself, what can I do about her silence? The answer, according to Stoic wisdom, is that you can't control her actions, but you can decide how to respond. Instead of obsessively checking your phone or sending multiple follow-up messages, invest that energy into activities you control, like advancing your work projects, engaging in a hobby, or simply practicing mindfulness. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When her silence stings, reframe the situation. Remind yourself that her response, or lack thereof, is not a measure of your worth. Focus on improving what is within your control, your preparation for the next meeting, your personal development, or even your physical health. This proactive approach doesn't just ease anxiety. It builds resilience and reinforces your internal locus of control. For example, if you're in a situation where you expect a call and she doesn't reach out, rather than spiraling into self-doubt, plan what you will do next. Maybe you set aside time for exercise or meditate to calm your mind. Over time, these small, controllable actions compound into a steady, resilient outlook that no external silence can shatter. By embracing the principle of focusing on what you can control, you naturally let go of the rest. This doesn't mean you become indifferent to her absence. It means you're no longer tethered to outcomes that are beyond your reach. You learn to invest your mental energy into areas where it creates real change and growth, rather than wasting it on futile attempts to shape someone else's behavior. Ultimately, by consistently practicing this focus, you create a buffer against stress. You begin to see that your value and happiness are rooted in your own actions and thoughts, not in external validation. The freedom that comes with accepting this boundary transforms how you experience life's uncertainties, fostering an inner calm that radiates outward. Your colleagues, friends, and even acquaintances might notice that you remain unfazed in the face of unpredictability, a hallmark of a resilient, stoic spirit. Lesson 3. Reframe her silence. It's not personal, it's about her. When she ignores your messages or calls, the immediate interpretation might be that you're being rejected, that there's something inherently wrong with you. However, a Stoic approach teaches you to reframe that silence, understanding that her behavior is more about her internal state than a judgment on your worth. This perspective shift is crucial. It liberates you from the burden of self-blame and opens up a space for rational understanding. Consider the possibility that her silence might be due to external pressures, personal distractions, or even a momentary need for space. Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius reminded themselves that each individual acts from their own set of circumstances, often unknowingly influenced by factors beyond anyone's control. When you reframe her silence in this light, you realize it isn't necessarily a reflection of your inadequacy. Instead, it might be an expression of her own struggles or a sign of her need to reclaim emotional space. For instance, suppose you've sent a heartfelt message and she doesn't reply immediately. Rather than spiraling into, "I'm not good enough," or "she doesn't care," you take a step back. Ask yourself, what else might be going on in her world right now? Perhaps she's overwhelmed at work, dealing with family issues, or simply needs time to process her own thoughts. By distancing your self-worth from her actions, you learn to preserve your internal peace. This mental shift is echoed in the Stoic principle that it is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them. When you label her silence as a personal slight, you invite unnecessary pain. But if you see it as a moment for her self-reflection or a pause dictated by external circumstances, you release the emotional charge. You might even consider that her silence is an opportunity for you to practice patience and introspection. In that quiet moment, you can reflect on what you truly desire from a relationship and whether your expectations are realistic. Practical techniques help cement this reframing. Journaling your initial reactions to her silence can reveal patterns in your thinking. Over time, you may notice that your assumptions tend to be more about your fears than her actions. Additionally, talking with trusted friends or mentors about your feelings can provide an external, objective perspective. They may remind you that everyone experiences moments of distance in relationships, and that it's rarely a direct commentary on your value. Embracing this reframe not only protects your self-esteem, but also empowers you to approach the relationship with greater clarity. Instead of chasing after validation or fixating on the lack of immediate response, you focus on cultivating your own emotional resilience. This detachment, far from making you indifferent, fosters a deeper understanding of both your needs and hers, paving the way for healthier communication when the time is right. Lesson 4. Cultivate patience through mindful waiting. Patience is more than a virtue. It's a practical tool that Stoics use to manage life's uncertainties, especially when faced with silence or neglect. When she ignores you, it's easy to slip into frustration or impulsive behavior. However, adopting a stance of mindful waiting can transform that anxiety into a period of reflection and growth. Imagine the scenario. You've sent a text, and the minutes tick by without a reply. Instead of immediately sending another message or letting your thoughts spiral into panic, pause. Take a deep breath, focus on your surroundings, or even engage in a short mindfulness exercise. This intentional waiting period helps interrupt the cycle of anxious rumination. As Epictetus advised, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. By pausing, you interrupt the mental narrative that turns silence into rejection. Mindful waiting isn't about suppressing your need for connection. It's about acknowledging that her lack of immediate response is not a measure of your worth. Instead of filling the silence with frantic texts, you use that time to reconnect with yourself. You might reflect on your own priorities for the day or engage in an activity that brings you joy. This practice helps you remain centered, preventing the buildup of unnecessary stress. For example, suppose you're waiting for her response during a busy afternoon. Rather than letting that waiting time steal your focus, you dedicate a few moments to gratitude, listing things you're thankful for in your life. This small exercise shifts your focus from the absence of her reply to the abundance in your own world. Over time, this habit can significantly reduce the emotional weight of silence. Stoic mindfulness also teaches that the present moment is all we truly possess. While it's natural to worry about future outcomes or dwell on past interactions, cultivating patience anchors you in the now. Whether it's a quiet walk during your lunch break or a moment of meditation before your next meeting, these pauses reset your mental state. They remind you that immediate gratification is less important than long-term inner peace. Moreover, this patience practice can enhance your interactions later on. When you finally do speak with her, you're less likely to be clouded by the anxiety of the wait. You approach the conversation with clarity and calm, which often leads to more honest, open communication. By not reacting impulsively, you demonstrate that you value both your own time and her autonomy. The Stoic idea of mindful waiting ultimately transforms the meaning of silence. It becomes not a void to be feared, but a space to practice resilience. Each moment of waiting is a chance to strengthen your inner resolve, letting go of the need for constant external validation. That patience, cultivated over time, not only preserves your peace of mind, but also radiates outward, reflecting a calm, composed demeanor that can defy the turmoil of everyday anxieties. Lesson 5. Embrace self-reflection to uncover hidden insecurities. When she ignores you, the immediate sting can trigger a flood of self-doubt and hidden insecurities. Stoic philosophy teaches that before reacting, it's vital to engage in self-reflection, an honest look at what those feelings truly reveal about you. Instead of allowing the silence to magnify your fears, use it as a mirror to examine your inner landscape. Consider a situation where you feel a sudden surge of anxiety after not hearing back from her. Instead of spiraling into thoughts of inadequacy or wondering if you're unworthy, pause and ask, what am I really afraid of? Is it a fear of abandonment? A lingering memory of past rejections? Or perhaps an internal belief that your value depends on constant affirmation? Marcus Aurelius urged himself to inspect his thoughts and replace destructive emotions with rational understanding. This practice can similarly help you decode the true origins of your unease. For instance, you might realize that her silence is triggering memories of a previous relationship where you were often left waiting. Recognizing this connection, you can address it directly by reminding yourself that her behavior is not a replication of the past. It is merely an isolated event, a signal, not a sentence. Writing in a journal or meditating on these reflections can further crystallize your understanding. Documenting your feelings helps you see patterns over time. Perhaps you tend to overreact when reminded of past hurts. Once identified, these patterns become easier to challenge and reshape. Stoic self-reflection also involves accepting your vulnerabilities. It's not about harsh self-criticism, but about compassionate awareness. Instead of judging yourself for feeling hurt, you acknowledge that every human being has insecurities. Epictetus taught that self-awareness is the first step toward emotional freedom. Once you accept your imperfections, you begin to detach your self-worth from external triggers. You see that you are more than the sum of your fears. Moreover, by engaging in regular self-reflection, you not only understand your triggers, but also learn how to navigate them. For example, if you identify that your anxiety stems from an overdependence on her approval, you can take steps to strengthen your self-esteem through positive affirmations, setting personal goals, or even seeking support from trusted friends. Each small victory reinforces your resilience and gradually reduces the power of those insecurities. This introspection transforms the painful silence into a valuable lesson. You learn that the way you interpret her behavior is shaped by past experiences, and by revisiting these memories with a Stoic perspective, you gain the power to let go. Instead of being defined by your insecurities, you begin to see them as opportunities for growth, chances to evolve into a stronger, more confident version of yourself. Over time, this practice not only diminishes the sting of being ignored, but also fosters an inner tranquility that radiates outward. Your face reflects a calm assurance, free from the shadows of past wounds. In essence, self-reflection becomes your pathway to emotional mastery, a gift that transforms silent neglect into a stepping stone for personal growth. Lesson 6. Practice detachment without losing compassion. Detachment is often misunderstood as indifference, but in Stoic philosophy, it means caring deeply without clinging. When she ignores you, it can be tempting to hold on tightly to the need for her attention, but such clinging only sows seeds of anxiety. Stoics teach that true strength lies in accepting what is, without letting it disturb your inner peace. This balanced detachment allows you to maintain compassion for both her and yourself, while freeing you from the emotional roller coaster of expectation and disappointment. Imagine a scenario where you're eagerly waiting for her response, and every tick of the clock amplifies your anxiety. Instead of fixating on that silence, you choose to step back and observe it with a detached curiosity. Ask yourself, do I truly need her attention to validate my worth? This isn't about shutting down your emotions. It's about acknowledging them without letting them dictate your state of mind. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." In practical terms, detachment means that when she doesn't reply, you don't spiral into self-pity or angry self-recrimination. Instead, you let the moment pass, understanding that her behavior is her own choice, one that does not diminish your value. You continue with your day, investing your energy in pursuits that enrich your life rather than in chasing responses. Consider a case where you're in the middle of an important task and suddenly check your phone, only to see no new messages. The impulse might be to worry or overthink, but by practicing detachment, you remind yourself that her silence is not a judgment on you. You acknowledge your feelings, then gently release them. This allows you to stay present, focusing on what you can control: your work, your personal growth, your hobbies. This approach is not about coldness. It's about understanding that while relationships are important, they should not become the sole measure of your happiness. By cultivating detachment, you build emotional resilience. You learn that while affection is valuable, your inner calm is far more critical. This mindset helps you avoid the trap of needing constant external validation, freeing you to love and connect more authentically. In your interactions, you may find that a detached demeanor doesn't mean you're distant or unkind. On the contrary, it can make your responses more measured and sincere. When you engage with her or others, you do so from a place of inner security rather than desperate need. That authenticity is magnetic. It signals that you are whole, capable, and at peace with yourself. Over time, this balanced detachment not only alleviates stress, but also enhances your natural charm. You remain compassionate, yet you protect your emotional boundaries, ensuring that your self-worth is built from within. The result is a calm, confident presence that remains undisturbed by fleeting neglect, a true embodiment of Stoic wisdom in action. Lesson 7. Turn solitude into a time for personal growth. When she ignores you, the ensuing solitude can sting if you perceive it as abandonment. However, Stoic philosophy views moments of solitude not as empty voids, but as precious opportunities for self-improvement. Rather than succumbing to loneliness, you can transform these intervals into a time for personal reflection and growth. Imagine spending an evening alone without the constant buzz of messages or social media notifications. Instead of wallowing in perceived rejection, you use the time to focus on your passions, learn new skills, or simply enjoy your own company. Marcus Aurelius often urged himself to relish solitude as a moment to align with his inner nature and values. In this light, her silence becomes less of a personal slight and more of a chance to deepen your self-awareness. For example, you might decide to pick up a long-forgotten hobby, like reading a philosophical text or writing in your journal. In that quiet space, you can reflect on your own goals and achievements without external distraction. This practice not only nurtures your personal growth, but also reinforces your self-worth. Instead of measuring your value by her engagement, you see that your true fulfillment comes from within. Solitude also fosters resilience. When you're used to constant social validation, any lapse in attention can feel like a catastrophe. But by deliberately choosing to spend time alone, you train your mind to find contentment in your own company. Stoic thinkers like Epictetus emphasize that self-reliance is the key to inner peace. Each time you enjoy solitude without bitterness, you build a reservoir of emotional strength that makes you less vulnerable to external neglect. Moreover, embracing solitude can lead to creative breakthroughs. Without the noise of everyday interactions, your thoughts have room to wander, innovate, and connect in novel ways. You might discover solutions to lingering challenges or gain fresh perspectives on your relationships. This period of introspection allows you to step back and evaluate what truly matters, refining your priorities and aligning your actions with your values. In practical terms, set aside a regular time each day, a quiet hour in the morning or a reflective session before bed, dedicated solely to self-growth. Use this time to meditate, write, or engage in any activity that nourishes your inner self. Over time, these practices transform solitude from a source of pain into a foundation of strength. By turning solitude into an opportunity for self-improvement, you reclaim your autonomy. You learn that her silence doesn't diminish your capacity to thrive. It simply opens a door for deeper connection with yourself. That inner confidence and calm will eventually radiate outward, making you more attractive not only to others, but also to your own sense of well-being. Lesson 8. Harness perspective to see the bigger picture. When she ignores you, it's easy to get caught in the immediacy of hurt and frustration. However, Stoicism teaches that the true measure of our strength lies in our ability to step back and see the bigger picture. By shifting your perspective, you transform a moment of personal pain into an opportunity for clarity and growth. Imagine receiving no response after an important message. Your mind might instantly fill with worst-case scenarios. Instead of allowing these thoughts to spiral, you pause and remind yourself that one moment of silence is not a verdict on your entire worth. Marcus Aurelius taught that external events are transient and that our judgments give them power. When you reframe her silence as a small ripple in the vast ocean of life, you diminish its impact. Consider a scenario in which you're anxious because she hasn't replied, and your mind races with, what if she's lost interest? Instead, step back and observe that life is full of uncertainties, and that her silence may simply be a reflection of her own busy schedule, not a judgment of you. By contextualizing this single event within the broader tapestry of your life, your career, friendships, and personal passions, you gain a balanced view. You begin to see that a missed message is just one of countless moments that make up your day. This broader perspective encourages you to invest in what truly matters. Instead of fixating on her inattention, you redirect your energy toward nurturing relationships that are mutually supportive and engaging. Stoic thinkers often emphasize that our happiness should not be tethered to fleeting moments or external validation. When you appreciate that every moment is a part of a larger journey, you find the strength to let go of minor disappointments. For example, if you're planning a special date and she cancels, rather than spiraling into anxiety, you recognize that the day holds countless other possibilities. You might use the time to focus on a personal project, meet up with friends, or simply enjoy a quiet moment by yourself. This shift from reaction to reflection not only reduces your stress, but also enriches your life with diversified interests and experiences. Adopting a big-picture perspective is also a practical tool for professional life. When deadlines loom or a project faces setbacks, stepping back to see the overall progress and potential for future success can defuse panic and foster a sense of accomplishment. It's about understanding that life's value isn't measured by a single moment of silence or failure, but by the continuous effort to grow and evolve. Over time, as you consistently apply this expansive outlook, you'll notice that what once seemed catastrophic now appears trivial in the grand scheme. That mental shift is a cornerstone of Stoic practice, a reminder that while you cannot control every moment, you can choose how to see them. And in that choice lies the power to live with calm assurance, regardless of temporary setbacks. Lesson 9. Cultivate a network of genuine support. Even when she ignores you, know that you're not meant to face life's challenges alone. Stoicism recognizes that while personal resilience is key, genuine relationships provide a vital buffer against life's uncertainties. Cultivating a network of support is essential, not to depend on others for your happiness, but to enrich your life with shared wisdom and encouragement. Imagine feeling the sting of silence, only to be met with a friend's kind words, a mentor's advice, or the comforting presence of a family member. Stoic philosophy teaches that our inner strength is amplified by the support of those who understand and share our values. Epictetus encouraged building connections with people who help uplift your spirit. When you're surrounded by genuine allies, one person's inattention or neglect becomes less significant. Consider how having a supportive network can change your perspective when you feel ignored. Instead of internalizing the silence, you're reminded that your worth isn't determined by one individual's behavior. Perhaps you've had a recent experience where a friend listened empathetically as you vented about feeling overlooked. That experience reaffirms that genuine care exists elsewhere, reinforcing your self-esteem. This network isn't about filling a void, but about providing mutual reinforcement of resilience and kindness. A practical example might be participating in a group discussion or a community gathering where like-minded individuals share Stoic insights. Through such interactions, you learn practical ways to manage your emotions and develop strategies for dealing with neglect. Over time, this community becomes a source of regular reflection and support, a place where you're reminded that your feelings matter and that you have a reservoir of collective strength to draw from. Furthermore, a supportive network can help you maintain perspective. When one person's silence seems overwhelming, the diverse viewpoints of your community can help you see the situation in a new light. They might share experiences where similar rejections led to unexpected growth or creative breakthroughs. That shared wisdom diminishes the sting of isolation and encourages you to focus on what truly matters, your own growth and well-being. Stoic support networks are not about dependency, but about mutual empowerment. They foster an environment where everyone's inner worth is recognized and where the focus is on collective growth rather than individual validation. This synergy not only helps you cope with moments of neglect, but also builds long-lasting resilience. Each interaction becomes a reminder that you're valued and that, even in silence, there is an abundance of support waiting to buoy you up. By intentionally nurturing these relationships, you safeguard your emotional balance. Even if one person falters, the collective strength of your network ensures that you remain unburdened and steady. Over time, this practice builds a community where everyone grows through shared experiences, making the sting of one person's inattention seem insignificant in comparison. Lesson 10. Embrace the opportunity for self-discovery and growth. Ultimately, every moment of silence, even when she ignores you, carries within it the seed of potential self-discovery. Stoic philosophy teaches that adversity and solitude are not just trials to be endured, but opportunities to delve deeper into who you are and what you truly value. When faced with neglect, you have a chance to explore your inner landscape, refine your values, and emerge stronger. Imagine a time when you felt ignored and wondered why it hurt so much. Instead of allowing that pain to fester, you turn inward. You ask, what does her silence reveal about my own expectations and vulnerabilities? Perhaps it uncovers a hidden fear of abandonment or an over-reliance on external validation. Recognizing these insights is the first step toward transforming pain into wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the obstacle in the path becomes the path. In other words, what appears as a setback can be a catalyst for growth. When you face silence, you can view it as a moment to practice resilience, an opportunity to build your inner strength rather than a reason to doubt your worth. You might begin by journaling your thoughts and feelings, capturing the raw emotion, and then slowly reframing it with rational insight. Over time, this reflective practice reveals recurring patterns and helps you develop healthier responses to similar situations in the future. For instance, if you find that her silence always triggers thoughts of inadequacy, you might discover that these thoughts stem from a past experience where you were often neglected. Acknowledge that history, then consciously decide that it no longer defines you. This self-discovery transforms the way you interact with the present, allowing you to stand tall regardless of external silence. Moreover, this journey inward isn't a solitary battle. It can lead to practical actions, such as enhancing your skills, pursuing new interests, or even reevaluating your relationships, based on the understanding that your growth comes from within. With each moment of introspection, you become more aligned with your authentic self. This alignment not only builds confidence, but also projects a calm, youthful aura that defies the impact of neglect. As you embrace self-discovery, you begin to see that every experience, especially the painful ones, offers a lesson. The process of letting go, of releasing the need for constant affirmation, ultimately leads to a more fulfilling life. You learn that your true worth is inherent, not contingent on someone else's attention. The realization that you are complete on your own is perhaps the most liberating Stoic lesson of all. In essence, her silence becomes a mirror reflecting your inner journey, a prompt to shed outdated attachments and embrace a future defined by self-awareness and growth. With each insight, you inch closer to a state of equanimity where external indifference holds no power over you, and your inner light shines brighter than ever. These 10 Stoic lessons show that staying calm when she ignores you isn't about succumbing to isolation or despair. It's about transforming every moment of neglect into a stepping stone for self-mastery and growth. By accepting silence, focusing on what you control, and embracing opportunities for self-discovery, you build a resilient inner core that radiates confidence and peace. If you found these insights helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support means the world as we continue exploring practical Stoic wisdom together. Let's keep growing stronger and more composed, one thoughtful step at a time.